Hello everyone, this is Cheyenne's Good Fortune back today again with another episode. So today we want to talk about premonitions and how spirit can let you know something's about to happen. And some of us have premonitions in our dreams, and a lot of times it's not completely direct. Like, let's just say someone's about to die the next day. You may not actually see in your dreams that person dying or anything like that, but it could be something to give you a heads up. And then after it happens, you realize, okay, that's what my dream was trying to tell me. So this has happened to me twice. I'm going to talk about this in this video. One just happened recently, and I'm not on camera, but this card is going to explain what just happened to me. So once again, this is about premonitions and how spirit comes to you and lets you know things. So a premonition is just something that gives you a warning about what's about to happen. I normally get a premonition the day before. That's a warning. Now I want to tell you guys, please pay attention to your dreams. Your dreams, oh my God, they bring you so many messages. Okay. I've had dreams about people, especially if someone's on my mind. Spirit will let me know what's going on with this person and give me a little bit more clarity. Okay. So I've had two situations that happened that was pretty traumatic. Well, not pretty, very. One was devastating, and I had a dream before. So recently, a couple days ago, I got into a car accident, and the reason why I have this card down is because I tried to do a tarot reading on the accident, and this is the first card that came out. So that just lets you know, yeah, tarot moment for me. So the premonition that came to me, so it makes sense now. So the night before, mind you, I just got in this accident a couple days ago. The night before the accident happened, so I've been having a little bit of conflict. I had a verbal confrontation with a recruiter at a temp agency. That's a whole nother. I had to contact some people and the CEO. It's just a long story. So I started feeling paranoid the night before the accident. And guys, you want to know what I felt paranoid about? I started feeling like something was going to happen to my car. I just started feeling paranoid. I was like, oh my God, what if somebody I don't know, I just started thinking weird thoughts. I started thinking like, what if someone at the company, because I contacted a couple people at this company about this person I got into this altercation with, this argument with, and I had contacted like the vice president, CEO, and higher ups and stuff, and some other stuff happened. And so I started feeling paranoid, and I said, well, maybe they may retaliate on me, which I didn't do anything wrong. I just reported this person, but I started being paranoid, and I said, well, maybe they may damage my car. I just started thinking about my car, you guys. And my car had nothing to do with the situation at all. My car is fine. So the night before, I couldn't even sleep because I kept thinking about my car. I kept saying, oh my God, what if somebody try to vandalize my car? I just kept thinking, what if someone damages my car? What if they try to retaliate and damage my car? But it wasn't logical, you guys. My car had nothing to do with the confrontation. But that night, I just kept thinking about my car, and then my car would be damaged. And something about somebody vandalizing my car. I kept thinking that. Mind you, I have never been in a car accident in my entire life. Since I've got my license, which was some time ago, I've never been in a car accident. Never. I haven't even been arrested for anything. I got pulled over by the police one time and got a warning. That was it. So haven't had any issues with the car. And so anyway, the next day I get into a car accident, and accident with a pickup truck, by the way. And I don't ride a pickup truck. So yeah, so this was a tarot moment, unexpected, but I had a premonition. And then when I thought about it, I said, wait a minute, the night before yesterday, like after I had the accident, and I've been thinking about this, I did have a premonition the night before. I had a premonition that someone was gonna vandalize my car. My car was gonna get damaged, but I didn't know, and I literally couldn't sleep. It was like I was paranoid that somebody was gonna harm my car, and I felt that way before a little bit, but this was extreme, and now it makes sense. The next day I have an accident. So the other tarot moment, this happened 4 years ago. My father died 4 years ago, and the thing is, I had a dream the day before he died. So I don't know if you guys know, but I had lived with my father for like 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, and I was his primary caretaker. He had got prostate cancer. He had surgery. Then I came out, moved in with him. I was taking him to his radiation, chemotherapy treatments 5 days a week. I washed his clothes. I made his meals. He could still cook a little bit, but he had a lot of health problems. He started to get gout. He had to have surgery after the radiation, which I did not want him to take. It damaged, I think, not his kid, it damaged something, and he had to get surgery on that part of his body. It was going downhill. So I was taking, so the night before I had a dream. So I actually was in a relationship with someone at the time, but this person was living with his parents, and I was living with my parents, not my parents, I was living with my father taking care of him. So the night before my father died, I had a dream out there. I went to a party, and at this party, I came to this party with a guy. This guy in the dream did not look like my boyfriend at the time. It was just a guy. We go to this party, and I go to an area where they have food. Like, it was a table full of food, and I go over, I guess looking at the food. In the dream, I was considering eating something, and I turn around, the guy is gone. So the guy that I came with is gone, and everybody at the party is looking at me, but nobody's talking to me. Nobody's walking up to me. Nobody's communicating me. Everyone's just away from me, just staring at me. I know this sounds weird. Like, nobody at the party would communicate with me. They were just looking at me. So mind you, the person I came to the party with abandons me. He's gone. I don't know where he went. And then when I turn around, everybody at the party is standing maybe a foot away from me, but none of them are talking to me. None of them are like just communicating me all. So I'm essentially alone. So I came with somebody, but I got abandoned by this person. I'm there alone. During this dream, I felt extreme loneliness and pain. I woke up from the dream and I just felt alone. I felt just like I was abandoned and alone. So the next day, my father hadn't been feeling good for a couple days, and he told me to take him to the emergency room. He had been feeling lightheaded. And I'm not going to get into too many details on this story because I'm going to do another story time about this because this is traumatic to talk about. But I just want to let you guys know, they will come to you. You will get a dream sometimes to prepare you for what's about to happen. So basically, my father, he told me to take him to the hospital. I have been taking my father to the hospital on and off 5 days a week. He was going to the hospital so much. I mean, it was just a regular routine. So I just thought, this is a regular day. He wasn't feeling good. Take him to the hospital. So we went through the back door, through the garage, and I got in the car and I waited for him in the alley. So he took a really long time to get to the car. So I got out the car and I walked to see him, and he was sitting at the bottom of the steps. He said, "I don't know, I just don't feel good." I said, "Well, Dad, take your time. Do you need me to, hold your hand and walk with you?" He said, "No, I'm fine." He said, "I just don't feel good." I said, "Okay, I'll wait in the car for you." I go back to the car. He finally comes out. He's having a hard time breathing. Like, he just seems like he's struggling. So I said, "Okay, Dad." So it was 2 hospitals. One was 5 minutes away. One was 10 minutes away. So my father's a veteran. So I decided to take him to we were going to the VA. That's where he got all his treatments. So just not to get into too many details, I'm starting to get emotional. Basically, he died in my car on the way to the hospital. He had a seizure. And he had a seizure. So my father died in my car. I need to explain to you the gravity of this. He died literally 2 minutes before I got to the hospital. I called 911 because I didn't know what to do. I'm screaming and crying. I watched him die, meaning I'm driving to the hospital as fast as I could. I seen the whole death process from beginning to end. Him going through the seizure, in and out of consciousness, and him then dying. And he fell. I think he fell. Well, once he died, he fell back in the seat, or he kind of leaned on my shoulder. I have PTSD because of this. I had to sell my car. I went to counseling, and also, so with PTSD, I would get flashes of him dying because, he was in the passenger side, dying in the car. Get flashes. I'm visualizing it. I'm getting flashes now. So I sold the car, and I'm not going to any more details about the experience because I'm getting emotional, and I might do a separate video about it, like everything that happened. But once again, he died in my car, and he had a seizure, and I know in that moment he was in and out of consciousness, and we locked eyes, and he gave me a look of goodbye, and then he went back into his seizure, and then he died, and I knew he was dead. And it was just me and him in a car. So I found out from Spirit that that's what he wanted. He wanted to die. Well, I felt that from Spirit. Spirit told me that he looked at that as a gift. I gave him a gift. He did not want to die alone, and he wanted to die with me, his baby girl. And that he regretted dying in the car because of what it has done to me mentally. So when my father was dying in the car, I think the music was playing. So it's been 4 years. He died in 2019. I haven't listened to music in the car in 4 years. I don't know if it's been 4 or 5 years, but it's something with me driving, listening to music. I cannot do both at the same time. So I literally drove 6 hours someplace one time, 6 hours there and 6 hours back, and then did not listen to music. I don't listen to music while I'm driving. I can't. I think it triggers something. Like I said, I have PTSD from this. PTSD is just when you went through a traumatic experience and it kind of rewires your mind, kind of. And sometimes you relive the experience. So I had a episode about a month ago. I was at work, and during my lunch break, I had to rush home because I actually moved. A lot of stuff has went on this year for me as you guys as well, so it's been a lot of stuff going on, and I was rushing home so that I had moved, and the technician had to come and do some things with the internet, get my internet up and running. And so I was rushing home, and the act of me rushing home, driving fast, and put me into a panic and took me back 4 years ago, 2019, when my father was dying in the car. Because when he was dying in the car, I was trying to rush to the hospital, and me trying to hurry to get him to the hospital and him dying, it triggered something. So anytime I'm in my car and I'm having to rush to go someplace, it triggers me back to that moment. So then my left hand starts shaking. So during this time, when my father died, when my father died in the car, when my father died in the car, I after that happened and I had the PTSD, my left hand would shake. When I would start talking, put it like this, when I would start talking about what happened that day, my left hand would start to shake. I don't know why. It's something with my left hand. My left hand would shake. And so when I was driving home that day, the act of me driving fast in that car and like rushing, trying to get home, because I was trying to hurry up and get there, because the technician had got there before I left. And so before I left work, they were supposed to be there at a certain time. They got there early and they called me at work. So I said, look, I'll leave now. I already told my boss I need to take care of some business at home anyway. So I told them just to wait for me, and that's why I was rushing to get home. And the act of me rushing in the car triggered me and took me back to that day when my father was dying in my car, and the act of me trying to rush and get him to the hospital. So then my left hand, so I started getting the flashes of him dying in the car, him moaning and going through his seizure, and then my left hand started shaking. But I calmed myself down, and I made it home, and I didn't start crying. I was able to calm myself. I knew what was happening. I was getting triggered. So whenever I talk about that incident, or I get in that moment of driving fast and rushing, and I get triggered, and it takes me back to a moment of him dying in the car, my left hand starts shaking. Also, I cannot listen to music in my car. And even though this is a different car, he died in my other car and I sold it, still, me driving with the music playing, I can be in a car with someone else driving the music playing, but me driving with the music playing, it's a trigger, because I think when he was dying in the car, because whenever my dad was in my car, I would have the music playing. Not loud, but I'll just have it playing. So I think with him being him dying in the car, it's a trigger. I think when he was dying in my car, I had the music on. So it's and I was driving. So think of it like this: he's dying in the car, someone I love very much. He's dying, and I can't help him. And I'm driving really fast to get to the hospital, and the music's playing. It's like it's all connected. So Even though my father's gone, me driving in a car with the music playing is like taking me back to when he was dying in the car. So I can go into more details about this, but I'm not, because I won't be able to get through this video. But the point of me saying this is not to make anyone sad. I'm making this videos because sometimes when something very traumatic is about to happen, you will have a dream the night before to prepare you. So I found that from spirit. I had this dream that I was going to be left alone, because I was. After my father died, mind you, it was just me and him in the house. I ended up having to leave for various reasons. I'm going to get into that in another video. So he dies. I had to immediately leave because some stuff that was going on. And then that so-called boyfriend that I had, he ended up basically abandoning me in a hotel room, and I didn't have a job, and I had PTSD. So I'm gonna tell you, I'll do another story time how that whole thing happened, how I got abandoned. Like, imagine I'm in a hotel room by myself. I have PTSD and I don't have a job. I didn't have a job, and my father had just died. So so spirit was imagine I had a boyfriend. Okay. So spirit, the dream, I found out from spirit later on that the dream was preparing me for what was about to happen. The dream was letting me know that I was going to be left alone. Basically. And I was left alone. Completely alone. And I'm not making this up. Completely left alone. Spirit revealed to me all the people around me who did not have my best interest at heart. All the people who didn't care about me was revealed. And it was all of them that was around me. So the devils and the demons were revealed after my father died, and my father was like my protector, and he died. And I cannot explain to people how traumatic it was being in the car, just me and my father, and him dying. And I'm trying to save him, get him to the hospital. He dies like 2 minutes before I get to the hospital. And I found out from spirit that he did not want to go back to the hospital, because I've been taking him to the hospital so much. They said he was tired. They said that was his day. It was nothing I could have did to save him. He was meant to die that day. It was nothing I could have did. And he didn't want to go back to the hospital anyway, but they said that was his exit point. That was the day he was meant to die. Okay. Also, I want to say too, in regards to the car, there is something going on. I think I don't know if it's a generational curse, or because I think we did plan our lives. Or maybe this is what was planned. But on my father's side of the family, there is, I've noticed some people have died in travel or in a car or something like that. So my grandmother, my father, him and his brothers was sent down to live with his grandparents on a farm. And so my youngest uncle was acting up. So my grandmother, she lived in Chicago at the time. She drove from Chicago down to Mississippi. I don't know how many miles that is, to discipline my youngest uncle. I don't know if that sounds right. My youngest uncle. I don't know, but my uncle. I guess she said my youngest uncle, however you want to say it. She gets there, and they said she gets there, and I think the moment she gets out the car, she just has a massive heart attack and just die right there on the spot. She literally drove, I don't know how many miles, gets to her destination, get out the car, and just pass out. My father told me my grandfather lifted her up, took her in the house. His older brother was there, was shaking her, telling her, saying, "Mom, wake up, please wake up." My grandfather turns to my father and tell him, "I want you to go to town." Imagine they live in Mississippi in the deep south, in a rural area. It took some time to get to town. He gave my father the keys to the car and said, "I want you to go to town and get help." My father says he's driving, he's crying, he almost crashed the car, and he said to this day he don't understand why they asked him to go to town. He said he did not want to go to town. He almost crashed the car. Okay. She died. She had a massive heart attack. So that's one death that dealt with driving. Even though she got to destination, after she got there, she died on the spot. The second person, my grandfather. So my father ended up being his primary caretaker, like I have been with my father. My oldest uncle like abandoned my dad and the grandfather and came back to Chicago. So my grandfather told my father, "Okay, if you want to leave," he said, "Curtis left, so you can leave too." He said, "No, I'm not gonna leave you here by yourself, granddad." So my father stayed there with his granddaddy, took care of him, helped him with whatever. He said one day they was coming from town, it was just him and it was just my father and his grandfather in the car. My dad said he gets out the car, And he noticed that he didn't hear anything that his grandfather used to tell him to, I forgot, it was something his grandfather would say to him when he would get out the car. In this moment, my grandfather didn't say anything. So my dad, just like when my father was coming out, I was waiting for my father. The day he died, I was sitting in the car waiting for him, and he took a long time to come to the car. So I got out the car and went to find him. It was the same way with my father and his grandfather. He said when he got out the car, my grandfather didn't say anything. He was quiet, and that wasn't like him. Normally he would say something or say, go get this or go get that. And so he said he turned around and walked to the car. His grandfather was leaned forward, and he had vomit all over the dashboard of the car. Dad said he died, and he had died in that moment, and I think he had a massive heart attack. Okay, that's the second situation in the bloodline where someone died either in a car or driving a car to get to a destination, either in a car or doing traveling in a way. Because my grandmother was traveling from Chicago to Mississippi. The moment she got there, she got out the car and she died on the spot. She just fell and had a massive heart attack. Okay, so that's the second situation. Third one is with me. My father, I told you guys, my father was in my car. I was taking him to the hospital. He dies in the car. He died in the car just like his grandfather died in the car. Okay, now I believe I may be next in line, in the sense where I may die doing traveling somewhere or in a car or something, because I don't think this is a coincidence. Now, my father has 6 other siblings. Some have passed. They did not pass in a car or traveling anywhere. He's the only one to have died in a car. He died in the car with me. His grandfather died in the car when it was just them two, even though my father had got out of the car. The grandfather still died in the car, and it was just them two. The only difference between me and my father is that my father, when his grandfather died with him, there was just them two in the car. He got out the car. Then the grandfather waited till he got out the car. Then he died. With me and my father, he actually died in the car with. I've seen the whole death process. That was the only difference. Okay. So now, like I was saying with my father and his siblings, the siblings that have died of cancer. None of them have died in a car. None of them have died where they was, traveling somewhere. Then when they got there, they just died like my grandmother. So I don't know what may happen, but I just feel like this has been passed down to me like a generational curse, where I may die in a car with somebody I care with, or maybe I'm traveling somewhere. I don't know, guys. I'm not trying to put that on me, but I'm just saying, this is not a coincidence, okay? And I felt that from spirit that my father wanted to die with me. I was the one he wanted. I gave him a gift. I was the one that he wanted. And also that I had signed a contract. That I signed a contract before I got here to be the one to take care of him during his last days. So this was supposed to happen, okay? So I'm just telling you guys, and like I said too, the premonition was to let me know I was gonna be left alone after that day, because the night before I had the dream of being left alone, and it was letting me know that the next day my father was gonna die. It didn't tell me he was gonna die, but it was preparing me that he was gonna die, and that my boyfriend was a piece of trash, and that I was gonna be abandoned and left alone. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know to pay attention to your dreams and take heed. Okay, and I send you love and light.